years of experience in executive assessment and coaching, leadership development, talent management, facilitation, strategic planning, and team building services. He's originally from Argentina, has extensive experience working with people from different cultures and social backgrounds. He's worked with individuals and organizations in over 60 countries, including the Americas, Europe, Africa, and Asia, offering services in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. He is a master certified coach, received his PhD in organizational psychology from Alliant University in California. He's also a professional certified speaker and an accredited coach supervisor. Accredited team coach by Renewal Associates and facilities certifications on professional coaching, mentor coaching, and coaching supervision.
That sounds too long.
No, it's not. This is you. He was 2013-2014 International Coaching Federation Global President, has received the 2018 ICF Circle of Distinction Award for his contribution to professional coaching worldwide. And it goes on. And what I'm going to say is I've known Damian now for a few years, and he is the most dynamic presenter. I love his topic. I'm a huge fan of supervision. I'm currently in a coaching supervision group through the Reciprocoach for MCCs. So I'm dearly enjoying that. And it is my greatest pleasure to introduce Damian, who is going to take it from here.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I am using a shorter version these days for the bio. So it's great to be here. And I have been involved with this chapter for many years. I have been doing presentations in person in Miami a couple of times and different webinars over the years. Like I was thinking, I was looking this year how many chapters I have done presentations, and I think this is my second one because I have done also one for the Master MCC program that you also have with the demonstrations. So I am very glad to be here today, joining you to discuss and explore supervision. Interestingly, today came out, ICF announced a new credential that, John, you mentioned. I went through the pilot program for the team coaching. I don't know how many of you have heard about that. You have heard about the team coaching credential? Today they made the announcement.
Yes, I just received the email.
So you received the email, you know that this is a new offering. And what is interesting is that supervision is mandatory to get the credentials. So it took many years from seeing supervision as a bad word. You know, like I have to go against a lot of misunderstandings of what is supervision. So today, my goal is to have 1 hour, is to have an interactive, very dynamic session. We are all tired of being in front of the computer, in front of the camera. So my commitment is to make it fun and make it happen fast, and then we can learn something about it. Everybody's willing to do some work? So if you're multitasking, my request is that just let's be present here for this hour. I am an expert in multitasking. So that's the reason why I'm telling you, you know, I'm very good about being in a webinar and doing emails and a few things at the same time. So the invitation here is just to be present and to take advantage of this opportunity to do some supervision. So what I'm going to do is an exercise where I'm going to be
you are an hourly employee
everyone to
just trying to feed your family, or you take the next step or the first step professionally, or you.
Okay, I thought that it was talking to me, but not one of the case. Okay, so can you make me co-host? I will share a brief lecture. I don't like PowerPoints, but I will just briefly show you a few slides just to give a context, and then we're going to do an exercise. So, Joan, when you ask people about supervision experience, anybody has some experience as a supervisor here? Supervising or being a supervisee? Okay, so most people have some experience. So just in case, I am going to share. We're going to go fancy. Technology helps. Let's see, please let me do this. Okay, can you see me inside the presentation? Okay, yes. Good. Okay. That's a trick. You guys, everybody can do it. You know, you just need to have Zoom. Okay, so let's move on. So the idea is that I started being interested in the topic of supervision many years ago when I was in the global board. I was the global president for 2 years, 2013 and 14. I'm unbelievable, I'm going to be 10 years next year. And I was in the global board for 6. So when I was in the global board from 2010 to 2016, at the beginning, we're talking about, okay, what would be the position of ICF about supervision? Because for the European Mentor and Coaching Council, in Europe, supervision was mandatory, still mandatory for all coaches who want to renew their credentials. So what would be ICF's position? And it was very controversial because, as you know, particularly in the United States, and I am an American citizen, I'm still an Argentinian citizen, but still an American citizen too. I have lived my life half and half. And I can say in general, we don't like to be told what to do. And we don't like to be told that anything is mandatory. So with that in mind, interestingly, that now team coaching is mandatory, the supervision, but we decided not to make it mandatory, just to make it optional for people who want to keep learning. So this is about the future of coaching. I do believe eventually supervision will be mandatory. Why? Because supervision is not about telling people what to do. It's not about control. It's about looking at our practice. It's about reflecting about our work. So that's the reason why I personally believe that supervision should be mandatory. Why? Because we all do have blind spots. I have been a coach for 30 years, and I still have blind spots. I still work with my supervisor to look, okay, what I may not be seeing. We are human beings. We have emotional reactions. We need to have a space, a place where we can reflect on our work. So I'm going to briefly define what is supervision, differentiate it from mentor coaching, and we're going to do an exercise about the 7I model. That is a model that we use in supervision. So what is the definition of ICF about supervision? Is the interaction that occurs when a coach periodically brings his or her coaching work experiences to a coaching supervisor in order to engage to move in reflective dialogue and collaborative learning for the development and benefit of the coach and his or her clients. So a key element here is reflective dialogue. So the way that I like to define supervision is not about control, it's not about guidance, it's about reflecting on our work. And it's a dialogue and it's collaborative, and in the process, the supervisor also learns. So that's the reason why we supervisors, we love supervision, because we are learning together with the coaches when we're working with them. And sometimes people say, it's the same as coaching the coach. And it's similar. There is an element of coaching the coach, but the difference is that we have a systemic perspective. And we don't necessarily look at specific results. We want to have, and we wanted to create a space for thinking and creating awareness. And we may see behavioral changes in the coach, but that's not the goal. The goal is not necessarily that the coach will be doing something different. That is more mentor coaching. So here is when we have an overlap between coaching, mentoring, and supervision. So the idea is that the three activities, coaching, mentoring, and supervision, they have similarities. We are all working in client center. We are all listening, asking questions, exploring, collaborating. The difference here are the goals, what we want to accomplish. The goals in coaching is achieving goals, is creating results. Sometimes also to create a change in mindset, new awareness for new possibilities of action. Mentor coach is focusing on developing competencies, developing skills. So the mentor coach provides feedback. What is present, what is missing, what needs to be done differently. Coaching supervision is continuing professional development. It's about building capacity. It's about thinking about how we can keep growing, learning, developing, being more effective, but more than anything else, looking at blind spots, what can be dilemmas, what can be challenges, what's happening to us emotionally, how the personal intrudes into the professional. So mentor coaching, as I was saying, requires that the mentor listen to the coach coaching. Supervision doesn't. So the mentor coach needs to listen in person or a recording and provide feedback. In supervision, we don't need to listen to the recording. In supervision, the supervisor brings the client to the session and discuss the session. So this is the definition of mentor coaching from ICF. It's about working on coaching skills. It's about developing too, but we don't focus on personal necessarily growth or challenges in the work. It's more about skills. And sometimes there is an overlap. Sometimes when we're mentoring, we're also doing some supervision. And sometimes when we're supervising, we may listen to a recording and provide some mentoring if we have the skills. So sometimes it can be an overlap. But ICF defines differently mentoring from supervision because mentoring is mandatory, particularly for ACC to renew a credential, for MCC to apply for a credential, but supervision is not mandatory. Supervision is suggested, and you can get up to 10 hours of CCUs to renew your credential as a supervisor or as a supervisee. So this is the overlap that I was talking about, the being client-centered. There is always an agreement, the contracting is confidential, there are powerful questioning, we create awareness, there is learning, it's supportive. So there are many super overlaps in the three activities. And the three key functions of supervision are formative, normative, and supportive. Formative is about the supervisor provides opportunity for keep learning. For example, can share some theories, models, tools that the coach can grow and learn and develop. Then it's normative because there is an ethical component for ethical blind spots, maybe for the coach, or dilemmas the coach may bring to supervision. And finally, supportive, because we want to restore, we want to recharge batteries, we want to work with our emotional reactions. So we do all of that stuff. We want to discuss briefly what the coach bring to supervision, sets of concerns, challenges, surprises, questions, insights. So this is a little bit about a framework to understand supervision. So before we move to an exercise, any questions? Any questions so far?
Nope.
So from what I hear, most of you have had some experiences in supervision. Anything that I'm saying relates to what you have done with your supervisors? Any questions about supervision or the supervision process? So we can make it a little more interactive.
So I could share. I'm Rose Littlejohn. I had been a student of supervision. So I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and it was introduced to me by our coaching community. I was assigned to a coach who's coached me before. So she knew me, and it's been a really great experience. I also had gone through the mentor coaching that was offered at the firm, right? So I am kind of, like feeling the difference and understanding the difference. So I don't think there's anything that you're saying, but oftentimes when I do show up for those coaching supervision, I wonder if I'm hitting on the highlights of what it was intended for, or is this more of just like a coaching conversation, right? So I do have those moments, and she will redirect me, which is in a very like move me into different but I like what you said about, the coaching practice and really get grounding on, spending some time there than getting into the true essence of coaching. It's more about how I coach others than how I show up, which has been more of how she redirects me during our coaching supervision. Hopefully that makes sense.
What you're saying is the key, Rose, is about who we're being as coaches. It's like in coaching, we work with our clients and we explore with them how they're showing up in their lives, how they're showing up as leaders, or how they're showing up in whatever job they have or issue they're bringing to coaching. In supervision, we work with the being of the coach. How are you showing up? And blind spots, because we all do have blind spots. So what's happening to us and how we can keep growing and learning and developing. But what you're saying is a key element, is the being. We work with the being more than the doing. Like mentor coaching is about doing what we are doing. in supervision is who we are being. And many times we have good intentions. And it may or may not be as helpful for the client. For example, if we're being, like I can be father-like, like very protective. I don't know if any of you feel that way. That's I want to protect our clients. And I want to be protective. So the way that I'm showing up is sometimes I've been protective and not challenging enough. So this is one of my challenges working as a coach is, but how do I find the balance between being supportive and being challenging? And then what is interesting that in the last few years, I learned more about Tatiana Bachkirova model on, I don't know how many of you have heard about her model about ego development and developmental coaching. You may find interesting her work. Tatiana Bachkirova is her name. She's Russian, lives in the UK. Is one of the experts in coaching, supervision. She has been my supervisor for a few years. And she has a model that I really found it interesting, that she says that not all clients come to coaching in the same place. So it depends on the development of the ego and the ego strength of the coach, how much we can challenge our clients. Because if we're very challenging with somebody whose ego development is not well developed, then the person will disappear because we will not be able to take that challenge. So how do we know? How do we assess how much we can challenge? And on the other hand, if we have somebody whose ego is, what we can say, overdeveloped, and the person feels that there is nothing to learn and they know everything, and they are not open really to feedback or coaching, then we definitely need to challenge, because if we are being supportive there, nothing will happen. So I want to recommend this. I think she has a new edition of her book called Developmental Coaching. So if you go in Amazon Developmental Coaching, it will come up. Tatiana Bachkirova is a really interesting resource. Any other comment before we move on? About supervision, about your experience, or any question you may have?
I just wanted to share in my experience,
Yeah.
this is Shakti, that in the supervision I've received, it felt, and I think it connects to what you just said, is that it was really work at my core and how that comes through in my coaching and what I want to be aware of, or what I became aware of and maybe want to learn from that or want to shift, or, you know, so there was a lot of core work for me rather than coaching technique per se or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that was my experience.
And you came to my other presentation, didn't you?
I did, yes.
And
yes.
I recommended you a supervisor too, didn't I?
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
That's
great.
the supervision I've received. And thank you for that, by the way.
Oh, great to hear. Yeah, this is my goal is to, I train supervisors because I want them to be able to make a contribution like you're sharing. So glad to hear that. Okay, great. So let's move on. Now, Eva, were you going to say a comment?
Yeah, I was going to mention, well, hi, I'm Pau, right? And I've taken a course with Eliana Dutra in Brazil, right? It's her supervision course. So, but I was more interested in doing mentoring coach at the time, but we had the both of them. So I do have the experience, and I've been, since I got my TCC in 2013, right? I think things changed a little bit. At that time, supervision and mentoring was not so clear, even though supervision had the recording, mentoring would not necessarily, it was a little bit different. So I keep tracking what is going on, but I apply very little. I once in a while get one mentee or I've been asked to do supervision, but I do like the idea of helping other coaches out there. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. Yes, I know her very well. We interact in different places with her. So let's move on. We're going to do an exercise. So I'm going to ask you to think of somebody that you are coaching. So what we're going to do is I want to share with you, I'm going to teach you this model by doing an exercise. And this model is called the 7M model. And it's a model from Peter Hawkins. This is the reference, like we have the 8 core competencies in ICF for coaching. we have this 7I model with 7 I's to work in coaching supervision. This is like what guide us our work. So when I train supervisors, I train them with this model, and this is the framework we use for supervision. Interestingly, EMCC, the European Mentor and Coaching Council, used the same model to develop their own coaching competencies, supervision competencies. So EMCC had a model of supervision competencies around this model. So they have also 8 supervision competencies. And by the way, ICF now is working on that. So I just received a document from ICF about competencies, because ICF is working on coming up with their own competency model, because I can imagine eventually that it's going to come up with their own credential too. Because if they don't do it, they stay behind. It's like with team coaching. EMCC came before with a team coaching credential and certification. And now ICF is coming behind the EMCC, and I think with supervision will be the same. Eventually, ICF will also have to provide accreditations for supervision and for mentoring too, because unfortunately the mentoring is not very even. You know that there are mentor coaches who are amazing, and there are mentor coaches that are terrible, and there is not any standards or any guidance or anything there in the system that assure the quality of the service of the mentors. Can you see that? The system, how the system is? So that is a problem. And if there is a registry, and there are some regulation for the registry that ICF has for mentors, but it's still, there is not any quality control of the quality of the work. So with that in mind, let's jump into supervision, and let's do an exercise with the 7A model. Thinking about a client, I want everybody to think of a client that you're currently working with. And we are going to answer some questions. And I think we may have time to work. Joanna, it's okay to go to do breakout rooms? It's possible to do that today? Can we do that? Okay, great. Okay, so let's do it first for 5 minutes. You're going to work by yourself, and then we're going to go to breakout room for 10 minutes to share the exercise. Okay, so you can share what the answer to the question. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to answer these questions, to write them down, and then when you get together, you share the questions, the answers with your colleagues. So in supervision, we bring cases. What do I mean with cases? We think about our client, and the client is the cases. Okay, today I want to work with this client. So let's imagine you're working with me. Let's imagine that you are having a one-on-one session with me, and you're bringing a case with me. So this is your client. So I'm going to ask you, tell me about your client. Tell me about who is your client. So I want you to write down, who is your client? What are anything that as a supervisor I may need to know. And by the way, needs to be 3 minutes, because the coach may be talking for 1 hour about the client, and we don't want that. We want to just say, okay, in 3 minutes, tell me a little bit about your client. Who is the client? Gender, age, what company they work for, what is the contracting, the coaching agreement, why they look for coaching with you, how do you, is somebody who look for you, or is mandatory? You know, there are different dynamics when somebody's coming to coaching in a mandatory program, that when they are choosing, or when they're even choosing you. Sometimes people can maybe not even choose you to work with. So that's important to understand the dynamic with the client. So with the client is my number 1. So I want you to write a couple of sentences about who is the client. So number 2 is the interventions. What have you done with the client? So if I think, what have you done so far? What have you explored? Have you done a 360? Have you done interviews? Have you done any exercise? What have you done? What have been your focus in terms of your interventions? Working as a coach with a client, what have you done? Number 3 will be the relationship. How is your relationship with that client. So in I number 1, as your supervisor, I may ask you, tell me about your client. I number 2, I will ask you, tell me what you have done. I number 3 is, how is your relationship with this client? So here is where we use the supervision. And I like to separate the word into supervision, because it's like we separate and we look at the relationship. And I will ask you, if you put some distance and you look at the relationship, what do you see? And here we can use different metaphors. We can use the drone metaphors from the high. What do you see? You can use the fly on the wall. If there will be a fly on the wall, what they will see about the relationship. What do you see? How is that relationship? And I number 4, so these first 3 I's or variables, called 7I because there are 7 places we're looking at, but we can call it variables, the thing we are paying attention to. So these first 3 items are about who is the client, what the coach has done, and what is the relationship between both of them are 3 items related to the system, coach, client. Now the next 3 items are related to the system between coach, supervisor. So I will ask you right now, when you're thinking about this client, what are you thinking? How do you feel about working with this client? What is your experience? What are your feelings? What is in your mind? What is in your heart? What's happening in your body? What is your reaction working with this client? This is I number 4. I number 4 is the coach. What's happening to the coach in the here and now? So this model is systemic and gestaltic. We work in the present and we work in the relationships. I number 5 is about, I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit fast, just for you to get a sense. You know, sometimes you may need to spend more time. Sometimes you spend a lot of time talking about this. One question about I number 4 that I like to ask is about the in terms of what happened to you working with this client. I may ask, is this client reminding you somebody? And people who have received supervision here, you may have heard your supervisor asking you, when you're working with this client, is this client reminding you of somebody? And sometimes the coach said nobody. Sometimes the coach said, my son, my mother. Sometimes they said myself. That client reminds myself. And that we call identification. Identification is when the coach sees him or herself in the client. Perfect topic for supervision to discuss. And number 5 is about our relationship. What's happening in the here and now between the supervisor and the coach. So when you were working with a supervisor, particularly if it is somebody who was trained by me, like Shakti, probably when you work with your supervisor, may have asked you, what's happening between us here and now? What's going on in the relationship here and now? And how that may be a parallel between what's happening between you and me as right now and you and your clients. And we call that parallel processes. So parallel processes is when we're paying attention about how what's happening in the here and now between the coach and the supervisor is also happening between the coach and the client. Now here in this case, I'm not having a formal session with you, so we are not going to explore I number 5. I number 5 always come with I number 6, because I number 6 is the supervisor. It's me, what's happening to me working right now. So when you share your experience, when you talk about your client, it's what's happening to me. And sometimes I may ask you, whatever is happening to me is similar to what's happening to you working with your client, as a way to bring awareness. So I number 6, I number 5, and I number 4, these 3 I's are about the system right now between coach and supervisor. And I number 7 is what's around the relationship. So when you look at your client, what is socially, politically, economically affecting the work that you are doing. So when you look at this client, what is in the background? So for example, right now, when I am working with some of my clients in Latin America, particularly males, many of them are paying a lot of attention to the World Cup. Not only Latin America, but Latin America, Africa, people are more oriented to soccer. But when you're from Brazil, there is always a rivalry between Brazil and Argentina about soccer. Like I think Brazilians and Argentinians like each other if they don't talk about soccer. When they talk about soccer, it's problematic. But other than that, I think we got along well. So I will bring that to conversation. During COVID, well, we're still having COVID, still there are cases of COVID. How is that affecting the work that we are doing with our clients as coaches or as supervisors with the coaches? So we want to bring awareness. Supervision is about bringing awareness, paying attention how systemic issues, political, economic, and social issues may be affecting the work we are doing, and we want to ask questions and explore that. So if I ask you that, can you come up with any answer? Can you think about with your client that you had to do the exercise? If there is anything happening in systems, sometimes the organization is going through a transformational process. Sometimes people are laid off. Sometimes there are economical problems in the company and that is in the background. There is a new leader that is in the background. So all of the different variables of what's happening around the relationship that can be affecting the relationship. So what we're going to do now is, since I think I can do this, I can send you to breakout rooms. So we have, I can do, let's see, 4 groups. So you can work. I mean, if anybody is not able to participate, will you let me know so I cannot put you in a group? If you cannot participate, can you write in the chat room so I know you're not participating? If not, I will send everybody to work for 10 minutes. So it's not a lot of time. Like every person can spend 10 minutes talking about your cases. So, but it is just a brief exercise. So in 5 minutes each, just share about your case, and your job of the other person is not to give advice. It's just ask questions, being curious, explore whatever you're hearing, just ask questions. Is that clear? What is the job of the second person? Just ask questions to better understand the client that you are discussing. And when we come back, I want to hear what was your experience and what was your learning. So we'll see you in 10 minutes.
Is this our group?
So Claudia, for some reason you are not here. That's really strange.
¿Será porque yo soy host?
Yeah.
Oh,
So you can
maybe.
join any group you want. So just join one of the rooms. Not number 1 because there are already 3 people. So join number
Yeah.
2, 3, or 4.
I'm gonna join. Yeah, okay.
Recording not.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. How did it go?
It was
It's
too
never
short.
Too short, but we made it. Almost there, right? Not much time for reflection, but to exchange, yes, we shared.
Yeah, I know. You're right. It's not enough time. You need at least 10 minutes each, not 10 minutes total to start with, because this exercise can take a whole session, really. But I want you to get a flavor. I want you to get an idea about how supervision works, what is the work of the supervisor, and see, so you can understand now. Now, as I was saying before, I have a training and all of the participants need to practice. So I want to offer, if anybody would like to have free supervision, like Shakti, you raised your hand before, I want to offer this opportunity to work with the students. Basically, I have a new program starting in March, but right now I have a program that is halfway, and they may, the participants always are looking for more people to practice. So if anybody is interested, I will give you my email, send me a note. And Shakti, in your case, you may want to keep working with the same person you were working, or you may want to work with somebody else and try a different supervisor. That's available. It's a win-win because they practice and they win with that, and you get free supervision. So it's a good opportunity. So any comments? So in this, anything you learn, anything you want to share from this exercise?
I thought it was really, I love these questions. And I thought it was very valuable. And I'm already thinking how I can utilize these questions in like a little coaches group that we have. So yeah, I feel like it was very powerful and very valuable. Just to bring a little different perspective on something, you know, on your clients and your perspective of your client.
That's a goal. That's exactly the goal, Shakti, is to have a new, fresh perspective of what we're doing with our clients and look at what we were not paying attention before. Great. Anybody else?
I noticed that as I was going through the questions, I wrote the questions down so that I can use them again. And I won't be able to do the supervisor side of it, but it did, even as I was reflecting on the questions, I was getting my own answers.
Great.
So I was getting more awareness, you know, as I was looking at it from, especially when you said put some distance to the relationship, you know, if you look at the relationship from the outside, and when I looked back at the relationship from that angle, it was like, oh, I see where the breakdown is. So it was really interesting. And then to have someone ask me the questions back, it was absolutely fantastic.
Great to hear that. There is a book, it's called On Being a Supervisee. And this is a good resource because not necessarily here everybody is interested in becoming a supervisor, but this book On Being a Supervisee is a book from Carol. We use this book in our training, and it's a great resource for you as a supervisee. So I highly recommend this. This is one of my favorite books on supervision. It's called On Being a Supervisee. There are few books on being a supervisee, but this one from Carol is my favorite one. And also the Han is a supervisor in the UK that also has a book. It's called Similarly on Being a Supervisee. It's also good, but I like this Carol better. So to start wrapping up, let me share with you a few resources. ICF has a few resources available. So I want to share that with you. If you go to their website, you will see that, let me see, I prepared this for you to have it handy. Okay, so here in the chat room, I am writing 3 links. So one link is a page from ICF about standards and coaching supervision. What is coaching supervision? A little bit what we covered today. But if you want to go a little bit deeper about what ICF has to say about it, you can learn more about that there. Then there is a one sheet that explains what is supervision that you can use for yourself or eventually as a resource. There's a summary of ICF position on coaching supervision. And then the last one is a research piece on lit review. So like I recommended a book, so they tell you there all of the books that are available and all of the resources around supervision. So these are really 3 really great resources that ICF put together on coaching supervision. Can you press and you get the link? Okay, so take
Yes,
this
very good.
opportunity. Take this opportunity, and I am also going to give you my information, just in case that you want to receive supervision for free. You need to commit to 6 sessions because it's a program, and you need to let your supervisor to record the session. Why? Because even though in supervision we don't work with recordings, because these people are getting trained as supervisors, they need to get feedback about their skills as supervisor. Can you hear that? It's not that you record the session supervising, but in this case, they need to supervise you so they can get feedback as supervisors.
And do we have to have recording from our?
No, you don't need, no,
Oh,
you
okay,
get recording
so
in the session. So
okay,
you come
just-
to you
yeah.
come to the session and you record the
no need
session, and
to
they need
submit.
recordings too
Okay,
for their
great.
program, for the supervision program. So basically, I'm sharing with you here my email. Also, you have my website. If you are not LinkedIn with me and you want to be in communication with me through LinkedIn and be in my network, that's great because I'm sharing resources there all the time. Also in Facebook or in YouTube, I have a channel with 300 recordings. Okay, half of them are in Spanish. So I don't know about how good is your Spanish, Claudia. You can listen to 300 ones. so if you look at the Reynaldo, I don't know how you think you speak Spanish too. So I think that there you have a lot of opportunities now. You have a lot of videos. You have a lot of videos on supervision topics, demonstrations on supervision, demonstration on coaching. I also train master coaches. I also have a program that's called Path to Masterful Coaching. And this is something that this year is new from ICF that also have a level credential 1, 2, and 3. So now instead of calling ACSTH, ACTP program, it's called level 1, level 2, and level 3. And level 3 for coaches who want to get MCCs. So I also have a program for that, and I have a lot of recordings in YouTube with sessions that we use in the program. So you can take advantage of listening to MCCs, practicing particularly in Spanish. I have done a lot of work in Spanish around that. These are all opportunities and resources. I also have a newsletter. So I share with you the link to my newsletter. I have one in English and one in Spanish. I share with you the one in English, and there you also can subscribe if you want to receive it monthly. The newsletter. We all have every month different sessions that are for free. These are all free opportunities for learning. So we have demonstrations. We have I am part of the American Coaching Supervision Network. The American Coaching Supervision Network has as a goal to bring visibility to supervision worldwide. And we meet once a month, it's free, and there are all topics related to supervision. It's open to anybody, not only for supervisors. It's for supervisors and coaches who are also receiving supervision and want to benefit from the content. So these are all good resources. I teach a program in Spanish and one in English. So you can get it in Spanish and in Chinese. Now I am teaching a cohort in China with translation. So if anybody here, I don't think anybody here speaks Chinese, but that's another option too.
I'm learning. My son lives in China.
Yeah, this is one of the first cohorts. This is the first group of people who are getting trained as supervisors in China. What is exciting. And this supervision field is really new. So still, there is a lot of work that needs to be done to bring awareness and visibility, but that's one of my goals. So.
And how long does it take, the training?
The training is an intense training. It's a 36-week training. So it's 36 weeks, and we meet every week, and we alternate between webinars, classes, triad practice. People practice with each other. You need 36 hours of practice with coaches for the program. We have guests presenting on topic, doing demonstrations of supervision. So it's a pretty comprehensive program.
I would like to have a way where I can get prices, hours, schedule, and everything, because I am very interested in Spanish.
Yeah, send me an email. Send me an email, and I will be happy. And also for you to start getting supervision if you're interested. Take advantage, because one way to learn supervision is by being a supervisee. Is by working with a supervisor. So I highly recommend everybody to take advantage of this, particularly because it's free.
Beautiful.
And it's a really good opportunity to keep learning. So I had to go, unfortunately. I have another session in 1 minute. But thank you, Joan, for inviting me.
Thank
It was a great
you.
meeting
Thank you,
everyone.
thank you, thank you.